Okay, this is where I spend most of my day, which is gathering information and writing and things like that. This is my office, and these are actually this is a full collection of issues that I've done by the year. You notice all the years and everything. So if for whatever reason somebody asks me a question or I need to know something about something that happened, in 2008, and if I know the
turn around.
If I know the month, I can pretty much get the issue and everything. Down here is a collection of books that hopefully when I need them I can find the right one. There's a lot of reference books here. There's all-time records. This is a record book of Madison Square Garden. There's one here of Ric Flair. There's one here of Freddie Blassie, who was a wrestler in the 60s and actually the 40s, 50s, 60s, and into the early 70s. There's tons of magazines in here. There are all kinds of reference books and reference material over here, and there's a bunch of more wrestling books here, including in Japanese, a lot of Japanese books, which no, I do not read Japanese. I don't know why I have them here, but they're pro wrestling books from the heyday of pro wrestling in that country. Over here, this is a copy of the 1957 Sports Illustrated article with Danny Hodge on the cover. Danny Hodge is one of 2 professional wrestlers who's ever been on the cover of Sports Illustrated, Hulk Hogan being the other. So this one here is pretty much a collector's item. So anyway, I doubt there's too many that have that. Okay. This is another bookshelf. This is actually more books. They're not all wrestling books, but there are a lot of wrestling books. A lot of the books here, though, are pretty much what's what I'm looking for. Very, very hard to find. International books, things like this. Like this is a Mick McManus wrestling book. This was released in England about over 40 years ago. It's one of the few pro wrestling books of that era that's around. There's other books from that period of time here. So anyway, that's what's over here. And this room here has tons of stuff. This is another desk that I use when covering matches, whether it's wrestling or MMA, usually working down here. These are VHS tapes that I haven't put away. Obviously, they're pretty obsolete these days. Actually, I would say much of this room is the obsolete stuff. I mean, these are VHS tapes of pro wrestling here. There's VHS tapes and some DVDs of pro wrestling over here. And I have in my collection probably more pro wrestling tapes in VHS than probably all but maybe a half a dozen people in the world. Pretty much any major thing that happened since, I would say, 1980 that was taped anywhere as far as the United States and Japan I would have, and as far as Mexico, there's a good chance I would also have it. The garage here, we'll go into. Of Wrestling Observer issues. It also has a dog. This has Japanese magazines, and I mean, I've got Weekly Gong and Weekly Pro Wrestling, and American magazines as well. Pretty much the major pro wrestling magazines from Japan and the United States. I would probably have pretty close to a complete collection between this garage, all these tubs that are mostly, these things are actually, for the most part, filled with VHS tapes. Open this up. So from top to bottom, literally. I mean, it would probably take a lifetime to actually go through them. A lot of them are cataloged, a lot of them are not. And I don't even know how much, I don't even know how good they would be to this day, because I haven't watched a VHS tape in years, just because they're obsolete. Anyway, but someday someone should transfer these things to DVD, make life easier, but I don't have that time. So that's what we got here, and then we got another thing, which is a shed out here. This shed obviously has some cool materials and things like that, and a ladder, which is not used for a ladder match bicycles. All of these here are, let's see what we got here. These are probably all Japanese and American magazines. All of this stuff here, everything from, you know, I would say there's stuff back here. I would say, like I said, pretty much every weekly Japanese magazine and monthly American magazine dating back early 80s. Early 80s would probably be where they're dating back from. So that's kind of like the wrestling collection.